Okay, so ready to dive in. Today we are tackling a pretty wild idea, and I'm super interested to get your take on it.
Shoot. Always up for a good thought experiment.
All right, so what if, just hear me out here, but what if absolutely everything, and I mean everything, a tiny little particle, a massive galaxy, even like a fleeting thought, a feeling, all of it, what if it could be thought of as a level?
A level, huh?
All right, I'm listening.
And the big kicker, what if all of these levels, whatever they may be, are somehow like connected,
Mm.
interwoven, I guess?
Oh, okay, yeah, that is expansive. Like truly mind-bogglingly huge if you start to really try to picture it. Yeah.
Exactly. But here's the thing, right? If we're saying level can be used for everything, does it actually still mean anything?
Mm.
Does it help us understand the universe, or is it just so broad that it loses its power? I mean, is there any value in a term that encompasses literally everything?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's cool to think about, but does it actually do any heavy lifting? Right. So that's our mission today. We're going to pull from philosophy, science, all sorts of places to try to break this down,
Yeah.
see if any real insights pop out for us.
Yeah, let's see if we can wrestle this big idea into something a little more tangible, maybe even, dare I say, useful.
Okay, let's start with something I know you've thought a lot about: fundamentality. Philosophers, like forever, have been trying to find these ultimate building blocks of reality, right? How does this whole level thing fit in with that for you?
It almost like flips the script, you know? Usually when we talk about something being fundamental, it means it doesn't depend on anything else to exist. Like
Yeah.
it's the bottom level, the bedrock. Think of those fundamental particles again. But this level idea, it's putting a thought, which obviously needs a brain to happen, on the same level as something like space-time. And some theories out there say that space-time is the only true underlying reality.
So for you, it's not about finding like a few core ingredients anymore. It's like potentially infinite levels, right? This idea leans into a pretty extreme ontological pluralism, basically saying if it exists, it's a level, period.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even wilder, okay? If you think about ontology, like the study of being, this definition does something pretty radical. We normally make all these distinctions, right, between specific things like, I don't know, your phone, and broader concepts like the color blue. They're physical objects, substances, and their characteristics, their properties. But this level thing, it just throws all of that out the window. They're all equivalent.
Hold on. So you're saying my morning coffee and the concept of warmth are both just levels? I mean, it's definitely simpler, right? But doesn't it also kind of gloss over some really important differences in how we actually experience the world? Like Aristotle, he was all about substance being primary. This throws that whole hierarchy out.
It does. And it brings up a really interesting question about meaning. This definition includes things that we consider meaningful, like a scientific discovery, and things that seem completely meaningless, like some random subatomic particle. They're both just levels.
Yeah, it's almost like touching on those existentialist ideas, right? This whole question of whether inherent meaning even exists at all. If not every level is automatically meaningful, then where does meaning come from?
Right. Now think about how scientists use the word levels, like the levels of organization in biology. You've got cells, tissues, organs, all the way up to ecosystems. What's different here, I think, is that scientific levels usually involve this idea of building up, like smaller things combined to make bigger, more complex things with brand new properties.
Right, like how atoms make molecules and molecules make cells.
Yeah.
That whole building block concept, it's not a given with this universal level idea, unless, of course, association, which we'll get to, somehow implies that for you.
Yeah, that's a big distinction to make for sure. And even if we look at mathematical hierarchies, those are built on order and complexity. You've got like the arithmetical hierarchy, Borel hierarchy, things like that. Again, the user's level, it doesn't automatically have that kind of formal structure. A global equation and some insanely complex theorem, they could both be levels without one being inherently higher up than the other, mathematically speaking. Although, in math, we do have this idea of a preorder, where things can be related or precede others, even if they're not strictly ordered on a line, like a hierarchy.
Okay, so this whole association thing, it seems pretty central here to really grasp what's going on. It makes me think of systems theory, where you're always looking at how things are interconnected at different scales, like micro, meso, macro.
And that's what's really cool here, because systems theory gives you all these tools, like feedback loops, to analyze those relationships. Maybe, just maybe, similar ideas could help us figure out how these universal levels, whatever they may be, are actually associated with each other.
So, stepping back a bit, What are some potential benefits of seeing the world this way? What's the use of having such a crazy, broad definition of level?
Well, it could give you like a totally new starting point for thinking about existence. It might push you to look for the most basic, most fundamental things that every single entity has in common. And it could even give different fields, like physics and art, a common language for talking about their most basic units, even if a physicist's level and an artist's level are like totally different in practice.
But there are some pretty obvious downsides, right? It feels very, I don't know, abstract.
Oh, absolutely. The lack of clear criteria, it makes it really hard to actually use this definition for any kind of detailed analysis. And if everything's a level, the term itself kind of loses its punch.
Mhm.
Plus, it might hide important differences between different kinds of entities. And of course, there's the whole association thing that's at the heart of this, and it's completely undefined.
Yeah.
Is it a causal relationship? Do levels share context? Are they just like existing at the same time?
So we're left with this picture of the universe as this massive web of interconnected levels. It definitely makes you look at things differently.
It does. And the real value of this whole perspective, it hinges on understanding what association actually means.
So here's something to chew on. If you start seeing everything as an equal level, what new connections or patterns might you start to see?
Oh.
What if the things that seem the most different are actually, at their core, just there, existing as a level? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.